A breakthrough may be in sight for TikTok's future in the US. US President Donald Trump has dropped his strongest hint yet that TikTok may return to American shores. In a post on Truth Social, he said trade talks with China and Madrid had gone very well. He said a deal had been reached on a certain company that young people wanted to save, a clear reference to TikTok. Remember, TikTok, launched globally in 2017 by Beijing-based ByteDance, became the first Chinese app to truly conquer Western markets. Its scroll-stopping algorithm and short videos made it to the pandemic's cultural lifeline. Now, this breakthrough came during the fourth round of US-China trade negotiations held at Spain's Foreign Ministry in Madrid. Leading the US side was Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, while Vice Premier He Lifeng represented China. Bessent later confirmed that both sides had agreed on a framework to keep TikTok operational in the United States. He said the commercial terms were settled between private parties, but more details are still under wraps. So, what's in the deal? According to Chinese negotiators, the two sides reached what they called a basic framework consensus. The plan focuses on shifting TikTok's US ownership to an American-controlled entity while also addressing concerns around data and algorithms. Reports suggest Oracle could once again be in the mix as a leading investor, given its history of hosting TikTok's US user data. Now, TikTok has been a political landmine. Congress passed a law during Joe Biden's presidency that required ByteDance to sell its stake or face a nationwide ban. Trump, now back in office, has repeatedly extended the ban deadline, even though the law technically allows for only one extension. But time's up. The current deadline expires Wednesday, just 2 days before Trump's scheduled call with Xi Jinping. Now, these talks are part of wider efforts to cool US-China trade tensions. Both countries had imposed punishing tariffs earlier this year, but later agreed to reduce duties temporarily. A broader trade agreement is still being negotiated, and officials say progress on TikTok was necessary to pave the way for a Trump-Xi summit later this year. Now, if this deal holds, it could finally end years of uncertainty for TikTok's 170 million users. Stay tuned for more updates as Trump and Xi prepare for their crucial call, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe for the latest on global politics and tech.
Want access to Business Standards premium insights? Join our exclusive LinkedIn communities and connect with top voices in the BFSI space on topics that matter to you.